Man, thank goodness.
Welcome to the Hex Late Show. It's 43 OG here again for another week. And I'm just going to bring Tangent up straight away. What's going on, bro? You're muted.
Yo, it was just, all I said was, yo, what's going on?
What's happening, man? So you were just on Matty Allen's stream like about an hour ago or something, because I was watching a bit of it. Yeah, what were you guys talking about? He's on some sort of marathon. He's on some marathon shit right now, isn't he? What's he doing?
Yeah, he was 6 hours into a stream when I joined, and we went from the 6th hour to the 7th hour. He was even saying he might go 24, like he might just turn it into a 24-hour stream. But then I think he worked out he'd promised someone to go to the gym or something like that. But yeah, massive stream, mainly talking about ETHW, but also just crypto in general as well, a bit of Bitcoin history. I got some nice compliments by DMs, people saying that they didn't realize how knowledgeable and experienced I was in crypto, which was really nice.
You are indeed, man, especially in the Bitcoin space, I would say, like especially you run your own nodes.
Yes, yeah, I certainly have kept my focus. I certainly have kept my focus on Hex and Bitcoin. Over the last several years, they've been my primary focus. But yeah, I do try to stay at least broadly knowledgeable in everything with crypto, like enough understanding that I know what people are talking about and could engage in a discussion in any crypto topic.
Yeah,
you know, because you never want to be not knowing what's going on when someone's talking about something.
And you've dabbled, or you are mining and doing that sort of stuff with GPUs.
Yeah, but I mine
you're all over
and I mine.
You're all over it. Like the average crypto person is not doing any of the stuff that you've done.
I'm actually also mining helium and chia, and there might be something else as well. Chia's like a storage one, and helium's another one where you actually need dedicated hardware, but it's cheap. So I misunderstood what helium was about. I thought it was to do with like data mesh networks, but it's actually like LoRaWAN, like low wavelength LAN networks for IoT devices. So I don't know if that could eventually maybe be changed or like sort of upgraded or changed. I think that I heard they are pivoting into doing something with like 5G technology, which is, I'm talking about the 5G, like the mobile phone towers, and also your Wi-Fi also uses that frequency. So they're maybe going to pivot into something where it's more like where it can actually handle a higher intensity of data transmission. Not sure what's going on with there, but that certainly won't be using the legacy devices. I do like to just be involved in crypto as broadly as possible, and so that I at least can articulate to someone why I don't like the thing that they are doing at a minimum, so that no one can ever say to me, oh, you're just doing that Bitcoin maxi thing where you're just putting the blinders on and not paying attention, and so you don't actually know how legit this thing is. I want to at least have an opinion as to whether I think something's legit or not. But once I decide that something's pretty much not legit, in my opinion, my participation will be very low or non-existent, until maybe someone will come to me at some point in the future and update my worldview and be like, hey man, do you notice that with NFTs now, it's not just JPEGs, there's financial NFTs. Not that happened. That would just be an example of how that conversation might occur. I was already aware of the possibility of financial NFTs.
Just getting back to the internet and the mesh idea, and have you looked into Starlink at all?
Dude, got my mind blown. Saw a sponsored tweet on Twitter saying, try Starlink, you can get this high-speed internet anywhere in the world. And I was like, this can't be right. I was like, how a technology could have developed with me knowing nothing about it to the point where it was a targeted ad, because it actually said, this is available in Australia. Like the ad said, this is available in Australia. And obviously I'm in Australia.
Is this is the map that I've brought up? And I'm not sure if this is the case, but are all those dots like Starlink? That can't be right.
Users, must be users, right? Or is it the satellites?
Like satellites, that can't be right. Can it?
I did hear a podcast once where they were talking about micro satellites, where they can actually launch these. They launch a satellite and then it just explodes into these micro satellites that are really small.
I think
something like
Perth is pretty much looks like covered. Melbourne, the east coast of Australia, looks like it's pretty much covered.
Those hexagons show you the coverage. Oh, so they are obviously able to target it, because that looks like it's targeted around capital cities.
Yep. Apparently it's available in Europe.
So the hexagons show you the coverage, and then those dots must be satellites, because if they were users, they would only be occurring where there's landmass, and those dots are all over the oceans. So unless there's been an explosion in seasteading, then this is satellite coverage.
Bro, I'm so confused by this. If that's how many there are, I'm just gobsmacked. If that's how many there are, or maybe that's all of them. Maybe
you'd almost need that many satellites if you're streaming high-speed internet through satellites. Bro, it blows my mind that they can even do GPS through satellites, and in terms of enough data transmission. It's nuts. Do you remember how expensive data transmission was when they first started having Wi-Fi for aviation and marine? So they had aviation marine Wi-Fi. It was $20 per 100 kilobytes or something nuts. It was just absolutely insane. So and now airplanes have got freaking Wi-Fi for free. It's nuts. It's nuts.
Do you trust the Wi-Fi? Do you connect up to the Wi-Fi on planes with your phone?
Yes, I have in the past, but I don't fly. I haven't flown for years now, But
your security knowledge has probably developed significantly since
increased massively in that period. But also the other thing is, I tend to trust trust a company like Qantas more than a random cafe, for two reasons. The corporate entity is possibly less likely to kind of scam, but also it's much less likely that someone like a hacker would have had access to the physical infrastructure. Planes are taken very seriously. They don't just let people start cruising around through staff only areas on planes, because people could be planting bombs and shit, right? So planes and airports are very strictly monitored, whereas in a cafe, someone could just go to the little or even a staff member or someone could just go to where the little adapters plugged into the wall and start messing around with it and shit like that. I'm not sure. Or sit in a van, the attacks where someone's sitting nearby and broadcasting the SSID that makes it look like it's McDonald's cafe Wi-Fi, but it's actually them, or some kind of man in the middle attack. there's no one up in the air ready to do that, right? You'd have to have a hacker on the flight with you. So
you can
I
do
think
it
the
yourself,
risk
man.
profile.
You just do it. You just do it.
As in you're the hacker, like as in.
Don't get any ideas, people, but you could definitely just broadcast.
You can absolutely do it. Yes, yeah, yes,
like
yes.
Qantas
They sell
free
the ability.
Wi-Fi. If you just call it Qantas free Wi-Fi, dude, do you know what? You probably get your ass thrown in jail for that shit. That is like,
yeah, everything's taken more seriously on planes, man. It would be seen as some kind of terror threat or something. Like it's, yeah. I think so. I'm not saying it's safe, but I don't look back on those networks that I connected to in the air thinking, oh shit. Also, I use a different phone now. All my passwords have changed. All my emails have changed. Everything's changed. And in fact, this might be a good point to segue into the Optus story that happened, where customer info was leaked. So Optus suffered a data breach where customer info was leaked, like massively. Almost all, I think all customer accounts of Optus, everything got hacked. So not payment details and passwords, but like all your identity shit. So like your driver's license number, passport, if they had it, address, name, date of birth, gender, like everything, right? So the government, and I'm really impressed by this, the Australian government has said that if you were part of that leak, because obviously they don't want identity theft occurring. That is no good for anyone. That's not good for the government either. They are allowing people who have been impacted by this breach to go to your local equivalent of a DMV, like our transport authority officers, and change your driver's license number, which is, I don't think that's ever before happened in history, because normally your driver's license number, that's your license number for life. So they're allowing people to go in and say, I was part of that hack. I need to change my license number so that people can't do identity theft on me. And they'll actually issue you with a new license, new number. So I highly recommend people to do that if you were part of that data breach.
Yeah.
You can't change your date of birth. You can never change your date of birth. According to some, you can change your gender. You can change your address. You can change your mobile phone number. You can change, like there are some things you can and can't change, right? And driver's license number and passports are like valid for like 10 years. And I'm actually not sure. Do passport numbers change when you get a new passport? Do they just keep the same number?
Yep. Keep the
same number. So damn, man.
Unless
you let it expire.
Unless it expires. Yeah, maybe you get a new one. If it expires, you like start from scratch.
I mean, look, if the government is taking this threat seriously enough and saying that this is a potential issue that's going to, millions of Australians are going to suffer potential identity theft from people around the world or domestically, they might, and they're doing this thing with the driver's license, maybe will allow people to do the same thing, a similar thing with passport numbers. Maybe
I've never quite understood why
passports though.
I've never quite understood why we need to give every single company that we deal with all this fucking information. I've never quite understood it.
Yes, correct. This is the takeaway lesson. The only way to secure your customers' data is to not have it.
Yeah.
Once you're storing it, then there is a non-zero probability that your shit will get hacked and you're suffering, your company is suffering reputational damage and your customers suffer damage. Now, having said that, unfortunately, a lot of the time, the government actually imposes by law that these companies must take and store this data. So sometimes it's actually not the fault of the company. But
it is.
The company can at least try and minimize it.
If they have a data breach, it is their fault because they shouldn't have had a data breach.
But
do you know what I mean?
If you take that attitude that nothing is 100% secure, like even the Pentagon gets hacked, right? Like as in nothing, you can't, with enough resources, anything's hackable. There's no such thing as 100% security.
Even the Pentagon gets smashed into the day after they announce $2 trillion lost. Did you know about that?
Yeah, I heard about that. The building blew up and burnt all the records of where the money went, where the ETH go. Where did the ETH go?
It's like the day before.
Richard should have flown a missile into the fucking Richard should have flown a missile into the fucking adoption amplifier or some shit and just being like, I don't know, where did the ETH go, motherfuckers? But here's the deal. You as an entity, so even if you're just a simple seller, like you've got a website and you sell some shit online, minimizing the data that you take off customers to what is absolutely necessary, and maybe in terms of necessary to function, i.e. you need their address to send them the item, and necessary to abide by the law so you don't get your ass put in a cage. And then anything beyond that, you don't ask them for.
I feel like there's enough technology out there for us to have like an identity with the government, right? And then be able to sign some sort of private key, which works back into a database that the government, through like some government.
PayPal's a great example of this, right? Like, so PayPal, so you're only storing your data with one entity, and then you can pay everyone else without every single merchant online having your credit card data. What you're talking about is effectively like a government version of that for your ID. The government stores your ID, and then they are the ones that then out-verify to other people that you are who you say you are.
Yeah, yeah. But you you have a signature or something that can cryptographically prove that you are that person. And of course,
and they have a signature as well, or whatever. Like, government has a signature as well. Like, which normally you'll never hear me say that, by the way. That does not apply to any other project other than this fact that this is information that is already kind of like belonging to the government. Don't apply what I just said as.
Let me just say, I would prefer no one to keep anything, but like I'm trying to be a little bit pragmatic here, and where we are so far, it's just not.
Agree.
And there's other bits of information that you do need as a business. You probably need to keep for at least some time. Like, you can't just destroy all information. So, for example, as a merchant, if you sell something and you're going to ship it to someone, right, you're going to need their address. Like, you're going to need their name and address to ship it to them, or at least an address, right? And then once they get it, it's not like you just can't delete that information immediately. Like, you might need that information to verify that they purchased the item, like if they want to return it or something.
Or they might say, "Hey, it didn't rock up," and then you need to, No, so that's fair. Like, as in,
and so I'm a big fan of not using pseudonyms and stuff like that, which can be a problem sometimes.
You can get a PO box. Like, as an individual, you can protect your privacy by having a PO box. That's a big one.
Yeah. You know what's weird about, I've got a PO box. You know what's weird about it is they'll put a card inside your PO box. I'll take the card to them, and then they still want to see ID. It's like, you dumb motherfuckers. If I didn't have the key, if I didn't have the key to this shit, how could I give you the card? Like, what?
If the item had been there and someone had the key, then they would have just been able to flat out take the item. So it's no different.
Yeah.
And also, it kind of implies they don't trust their own system. Like, they don't trust the security model of their own system. But man, there's heaps of dumb shit like that.
And then like, they'll take your ID, and they'll be like, they might read shit out from your ID.
And then,
have you ever been in that situation?
You want to hear a reverse story?
But have you ever been in that situation where you're like at some place and they want to see, like, and they read out your details, like they're reading out your name and address, like, and people in the line can hear, and it's just
never had it happen in a bad way, but I've
me neither.
Because obviously those employees are not like privacy conscious. They don't realize that isn't freaking party foul.
Yeah. But I bet you there's woke training, like gender shit to call people by, but they don't have privacy training. Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Dude, 100%. Dude, 100%. They would definitely have woke training and not privacy training.
They need the privacy training.
Yeah, man. Like, look, the reverse example that I was going to give is, I've had situations where my parents have been like, "Oh, I'll just go and pick that up for you." And I'm like, no, you won't be able to do that because you need ID. And they're like, "No, I already got it. Here it is." Like, or they'll just go and do it. And I'm like, how did you get my shit without what? Like, sometimes it depends on, because sometimes I'll get my shit sent to their house. particularly when I used to work full time, it was annoying that you wouldn't be home and then you'd always have the little notes that you have to go and pick it up. So I would actually send stuff to their place. And sometimes, as long as the ID that you show at the post office has the address that matches where the parcel was being sent to, it doesn't matter if the names don't match, because it shows that you live with the person.
It depends who you get. I mean, if you get a stickler for the rules, if you get a real stickler for the rules, you might just, I don't know.
Agreed.
Like I needed to show a business card once. I need to show like a business card that showed my business address and my name on it, because my driver's license had my home address on it. So it got delivered to my business address. So I needed to show my business card as well.
Okay. You're like, here's my name on a thing that shows that is also me. Yeah. Fair. Yeah. Hey, can I flex? So
yeah,
I literally within the first first 24 hours of this week, I had Jack Levine call me a hero on a live stream. We streamed together about his new project, and he called me a hero for standing up to Richard in a debate, and also a joke that I threw into the stream where I said just the one. Like it was just a joke. If anyone's seen the debate, you might remember it. He said that I've reached hero status in his book.
What was
it? Was to do with validator control, and when in my accusation of kind of like that, by there being a majority holder of supply, you almost becomes like pseudo admin keys, because you can just delegate or run nodes, and that would beat everyone else. Like you could just take out the entire validator rotation. And I think my joke was kind of like, it was just a little dig saying that there's one person that I can think of who would be able to do it, or something like that. It was like, it was effectively implying, you know what it was implying, right? Like, and then I immediately pulled my punches in that live stream, in the debate. I pulled it, and I was like, by the way, I'm just joking around. So there was that. Then someone painted, I'll actually pull up his name so I can give him a shout out. But
I saw that
someone painted a picture of me, like literal paintbrush picture, not digital NFT picture, which was epic. Definitely made me feel like a crypto celebrity. And then I found out that DJ Lethal is in my Telegram chat group for Ethereum Proof of Work. And there might have even been something else. Oh, yeah, I guess the Telegram reaching 1,000 members and stuff like that. And I was just like, wow, the start of this week has just been an absolute explosion of all of these like amazing things happening in my crypto journey that, you know, definitely is rewarding for how much time I dedicate to this space.
Yeah. I'm just jumping in here to see if I can get that link, and I'll see if I can pop it in the chat.
And found it. It's Martin Axel. Martin Axel was the artist that painted and I messaged him and said that it really captured how I see myself when I'm streaming, like when I review my own streams, either with you guys, with other people, or by myself solo streaming. Like that painting reminds me of myself on streams, probably because I do like the signature hat and shit. And he was saying that he used images from my streams as the like inspiration or the thing that he was looking at while painting it.
Yeah. So you've been going pretty crazy on this ETHW thing. Like you started the chat. Can I ask you, are you still like, do you still think that, like, I mean, clearly the social consensus is completely with, you know, the proof of stake chain currently?
Well, look, they've got Vitalik. So like, as in when the Ethereum Classic fork occurred, Vitalik was effectively being able to just go, this is the real chain. And because you still had a vocal founder, he didn't Satoshi himself. So rather than the network choosing or sort of like having an organic fight, you had the founder saying, this is the legit shit. So this time I know again that you've got Vitalik saying this is the legit one. But the crypto space has matured a lot since that original fork, right? It's interesting that we've never seen another fork in Ethereum until now.
With system state.
And while certainly, in terms of, I would say, project teams have like statistically, more of them have backed that chain or continued on that chain. You've got Vitalik, and anyone who blows him is definitely on that chain. Probably like the Silicon Valley, like all the Silicon Valley bros are probably on that chain. Who else? The wokes are definitely on that chain, which is something that makes me bullish on the proof of work chain. All the wokes got forked off onto because they're the ones that believe that dumbass energy FUD and bend over to social pressure to not hurt the environment without actually looking into it and doing any research on a high level whether the environmental concerns globally are even warranted to that level, and then on a more local level whether proof of work actually is creating a damaging use of electricity or not, and those sorts of nuanced arguments that exist within that Bitcoiners are constantly having to dispel. And then so to just bend over to like social and government pressures is not very crypto, bro. Like that to me is like, so I'm glad that the people that think like that got forked off into that community. And by the way, I don't want to make it sound like it's us against them. I'm on both, right? Like as in,
yeah.
I've got bigger bags. I've got bigger bags. Like I've got more economic value on that chain, on the Ethereum proof of stake chain. I have more value there. So I'm not trying to like FUD that chain.
And when PulseChain forks, it's going to fork off the proof of stake. The Ethereum.
That's my understanding. That's my understanding. I'd be very surprised if Richard chose the chain, even though for me this is the real Ethereum. What was my reasoning for that? Well, I mean, like, look, he has to drive the narrative that proof of stake is the bomb because of the fact that PulseChain is proof of stake. So it would sound weird if he's like, I think this is the real Ethereum because it's proof of work, and that's the one we're going to take the system state from. And it's like, well, if you like proof of work so much, why are you doing a proof of stake consensus algorithm? So for that reason alone, I think it would be difficult for him to explain why he's doing that one. And also, part of the reason why he's forking the whole system state, as he's stated, is to get that adoption of all the projects. So he would want the chain where those projects are still active and their community. So if the majority of communities are on that chain still, that would be the one that would make the most sense for him to fork. So, and there's other reasons as well that are less powerful.
The social consensus
is
what like essentially is what matters the most, because you want to fork what has the most social, like the most interaction.
Yeah, but let me just drop this analogy. You know how much I don't like analogies, but you know when the meteor hit the Earth and blacked out the sun and 80% of life died. That was dominantly.
Yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday, bro.
Yeah, I remember that shit. So the reason why heaps of life died, and most of the life that died, it was the reptiles that required the sun to heat, and that as well. But there was also the fact that cold-blooded animals need the sun to survive, because that's how they get their energy. That's how they get their warmth. So when you have a black swan event that takes out, like if you're too centralized and the one thing that you are relying on gets taken out, like in that case, it was the sun, then the secondary one that people thought was like not the main shit becomes the main shit. So the stuff that survived was the stuff that wasn't so heavily reliant on the sun.
How are we going to solve this problem, bro? How are we going to solve this problem? We've only got one sun. We need to fork the sun so we're not dependent on this one sun.
No. Like, that's where I'm ending the analogy, and now we're back.
Shit is it's just not going to work out, man. Not binary.
Oh,
what I'm
actually, I
saying.
mean, I guess
That's-
the next version of Elon Musk will want to take our species in, like, rather than just be interplanetary, be intergalactic, right? And so eventually,
think?
maybe if we survive long enough to get there, yeah, I think so. I think that would be the long-term aim.
No,
Well,
dude.
it's the redundant.
Why
It's the
move the
redundancy.
flesh?
You're
I'm
joking,
saying-
but it's the redundancy we require to survive this sun exploding, right? But I don't want to. I didn't mean to go off into that actual
Yeah.
tangent.
No, but
I'm
let's
trying.
tangent.
I was just.
I don't think we're
I'm
going to
saying
make it
if the
that long,
government,
man. I hate to say
if the
it.
government
I don't
cracks
think we're going
down,
to make it that far. I think we're.
well,
we're
I guess we won't be around to see it
extinct before
anyway.
then.
But but the point is, bringing it back to crypto is, if the government decides to do so, there's two big government threat vectors at the moment on proof of stake Ethereum. One is Gary Gensler came out and said that the staking part of it could mean that it's now a security, which is one threat vector. He said that. That's massive. The other one is what the Bitcoiners were warning about from before the fork happened, before the merge, saying that it's less censorship resistant to nation state censorship now because of where the stakers and where the nodes and like all of the infrastructure now is like more majority under control of things that the US either has control over or can like long reach to get control over. So if either of those two threat vectors become real, which are both government, they're both nation state attack vectors, then proof of work chain will be there to catch the to save everyone. So they're not that unrealistic, man. So we don't necessarily need to be the winning chain by consensus, by social consensus, like you said, immediately. We could have a win, that chain could win out unexpectedly from a black swan. And in fact, these aren't even black swans, man. Black swan implies that there was no one could have seen it coming. This is nowhere near a black swan. Sorry. This is just an unexpected, unlikely event.
Dude, I lost a lot of, what's the right word?
Respect?
Confidence. Not respect. I didn't respect Ethereum. I had confidence in I had confidence in Ethereum, but I've lost a lot of confidence in Ethereum ever since the censoring of addresses by RPC nodes, RPCs. So to me, that is okay. Well, this shit's not censorship resistant anymore.
It's not at all.
So unless you've got your own node running, then that's something.
Yeah, man,
it doesn't. And the fact is that it doesn't affect anyone. It basically doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect anyone really. It doesn't affect anyone. But the fact that is something that's happened is problematic for me because it goes to whether or not that chain is censorship resistant.
It doesn't affect people directly, but it affects people if you is in terms of where crypto's going. And do you know what upset me the most, man? Was
thin edge of the wedge. That's what it is. It's a thin edge of a wedge where they are able to censor addresses and that sort of thing. So I don't think that's what we're wanting.
Dude,
I mean,
the thing that upset me the most was over complying. People and entities that over complied, that they went and did things that they were not being asked to do just because they were panicking that they might get in trouble. So GitHub taking down the Tornado repo was an example of that. And the arrest of the Tornado Cash developer in Holland was an example of that, where the American government did not even say, yo, do this, do that. We expect this, we expect that. It wasn't. They just went and did it. They just went and did it out of fear. So that demonstrates to me that we've got a bigger problem. The problem is larger than just the US government flexing and doing unreasonable, nasty, unethical shit, in my opinion.
That shit's only a problem. But Tangent, that shit's only a problem is because people get into crypto and then they get comfortable and they stop learning and they stop developing. if you've been in crypto for 5 years, why the fuck aren't you running a node? Like, why? Learn. Like, fucking learn how to do it. It's not that hard. Or buy some off-the-shelf shit. You know?
You want to know something that's
Run your own
cool
node.
is there's an app that you can download for like a lot of these OSs that run things like Bitcoin nodes and stuff like that. There's a app that you can get that lets you mirror a GitHub so that you can be the provider of, so I could get like all the Bitcoin code, all the Tornado Cash code, all of those things that are open source, and I can create my own locally stored like repos that are on my node. And if enough people do that, then you've also decentralized the code base, so that if that sort of shit ever happens where they're like, tell all the centralized entities that it's illegal to have crypto code on their shit, it's too late. It's already been copied a million times, and it auto updates, which is quite important as well. So you don't have to sit there going, do I have the most recent version? It's a true mirror. It's a true mirroring that if there's updates, it'll update it. But obviously if it gets taken down, it doesn't delete it. It doesn't mirror. It won't mirror removals. It will only mirror the like additions and updates. So yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool. I can get the exact name.
What is that called? Yeah.
I'll go and grab the exact name. It's Git something. It's like I'll go and grab it.
Yeah, I mean,
because you'll be able to run it on your node.
Cool.
Oh, did you ever sync an ETH node?
Yes.
So, and you got it fully synced?
Not a full, like we spoke about this, like a full archival node in Ethereum is not actually a full archival node in the way that you understand what a full archival node is. Like you would expect that
other way around. In Bitcoin, they just call it a full node. In Ethereum, they do call it a full archival node. It means the entire history.
Yeah, no, it's still not the entire history. It's still not.
Really?
Yeah, it's not.
What do they call like the everything node? I want the one that is literally everything.
Yeah, I can't fucking remember. Hang on. Let me do a little bit.
Whatever that is, I want to know someone who I have trust for, who can tell me that they actually managed to sync that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you're saying.
Like, I just want to know. I just want to know it's possible. I just want to know it's possible.
Dude, it's possible, but you need like just shitloads of drives, and then you need to just spend the time to sync it. And it's going to take fucking
no. There are Bitcoiners that claim that even then that it's not possible. Like as in that, or that only very few people in the world would even have, like, you'd need to be like in Hong Kong, like with some like psycho connections and hardware or some shit. So Vitalik does not even run a full node. Vitalik himself, the fucking founder, does not run and wouldn't you just do it? Wouldn't you just do it to shut up haters like me? Like, wouldn't you just, if you were Vitalik, wouldn't you be like, I'm gonna run the full shit just so that if anyone says, bro, you don't even run the full shit, be like, here it is, I'm running the full shit. Wouldn't you just do it? Like, wouldn't you just do it because you love your project? I mean, if I ever had a crypto, I would be doing I'd be doing it the hardest, you know? Like I would have everything. It just shocks me that he has such a cavalier attitude towards the nodes.
I think he just doesn't. He just believes in the other shit. Like he obviously believes.
He probably knows
in the light.
He probably knows it's centralized enough. He probably just knows it's centralized enough that they don't need the full history because they can just fucking just be like, let's just change it. Like maybe, who knows? Like,
yeah, I run a full node, but I still don't think that's like the full history of everything.
Yeah, what they call a full node is what Bitcoiners call a partial node or a pruned node.
Yeah. That's what I thought. And there's another name for like the full shit.
It's full archival node is the name for the one that has everything. It is my understanding. But you just said that I was wrong about that, so who knows?
No. I'm wrong. Excuse me.
Okay. This thing's not loading up.
So if you want to run
load
like
this thing to get that name.
if you want to run like a node,
Sorry.
you can run like an Ethereum node, or like not just Ethereum nodes, like other nodes. You can run like other chains, you know, Monero.
Yeah.
So
I
there's
had a
software
Monero node for a while.
There's this software called Dapnode, DAPPNODE.
I've heard of it.
Out. Yeah, it's free.
I've definitely heard of that.
Yeah, so you can go. I think you need like your hardware needs to be okay, and you probably need like a decent NVMe drive, like maybe a 4 terabyte NVMe drive. So that's not cheap, and you probably need like, 32 gig RAM, probably a half decent processor, probably an i7 or an i9 or something.
Yeah.
But that you can, if you've got like hardware that, then you can run this DAP node, and it'll take a while. It's decent. It's decent. It's not like command line. It's all GUI based. So
that's good.
That's good for most.
That's really
people.
good, because that means you're going to have more people getting involved.
Yeah. So I think that's a good option for people just to get into it. But yeah, it's worth learning about, I reckon. So, dude, what's I wasn't here last week. What did you guys talk about?
Oh shit.
A week was a long time ago, I know.
I can't even, man, because normally I do remember back a week, but this particular week that we're talking about has been this ETHW week. So my shit has been intense, bro. Like it has been the most intense week I've ever experienced in all of crypto has been this week. So when I try to cast my mind back to that stream that we had, it was the one that I was hosting, right?
Yep.
Yeah, shit, I can't remember, man. Sorry.
Hey, did you see that? Did you see the tweet from Maximus that they've gone over 1 billion tokens that have been locked up in the Maximus ecosystem in total, like everything. Over a billion tokens.
From
over a billion hex,
including Maxi,
everything.
Including Maxi and Desi and everything.
Yeah, 1 billion tokens, bro.
That's
crazy.
Intense.
That's crazy.
That's intense.
That's a lot.
I did see someone tweeting out the dollar value of what it is now and the dollar value of what it would be if we went back to all-time high, in terms of how much that would that total locked would. So in terms of service to the community, in terms of service to locking up more hex, I mean, this and other things continue to shock me of why the hex price doesn't go up. It's like, how the fuck? If everything's locked, all the OA shit is diamond handed, everything else is locked, where the shit is the supply coming from? It doesn't make any sense. You'd think the price has to go up. It's so weird. It's just so weird, man. Like,
why isn't Bitcoin going up?
Well, Bitcoin doesn't have a locking for Bitcoin doesn't have the narrative of like shit being locked and.
But why isn't it going up?
Oh, a good point. Fair point. You're saying that in a bear market, everything gets wrecked regardless. It doesn't matter what the tokenomics is. It's everything gets wrecked. Yeah, it's true.
I mean,
look, I'm
not having a dig at Bitcoin at all.
Bro, bro. You're spot on. I have the same thoughts about Bitcoin all the time. Like where I'm like, there's so much. So one of the things I think of that just doesn't make sense to me is if every Bitcoiner that I know of was a whole coiner, there wouldn't be any Bitcoin left. Like there are at least 21 million people who present themselves as being pro Bitcoin. Like, where the coins? Why are their coins available? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So that one's weird, and especially when you subtract all the supply that's in single wallets, like Satoshi's coins, Michael Saylor, GBTC. Actually, GBTC is a terrible example because that's multiple owners. But you get what I'm saying, right? Like, you've got these individuals who are taking responsibility for thousands or tens of thousands of individuals, if you were saying that those individuals all need to have one coin. So that was an excellent point that you raised, that it's the same thing over in Bitcoin. It just seems like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and we love crypto so much that we're sort of like permabulls. Do you know what I mean? Like we're like always like, why isn't it going up? You know, why isn't the price going up? That's like the constant question. But
well, we got a little bit of local decorrelation last night.
We just have to do the time. Everyone, like, dude, until people, like, I don't think people are. We're so resilient in the Hex community that I don't know what it's going to take to get everyone demoralized to the point where we hit rock bottom and then can start going up again. Like, I don't know. You know, like when do you remember when we had like Bitcoin and then it was at 6,000 going after the all-time highs, and it was just like it was just going along at 6,000 and then it dropped down to like $3,000. That was like fucking demoralizing. That shit, dude. Yep. That shit was fucking demoralizing. And then
but I can tell you the difference structurally in the chart between that and, like, if you I mean, maybe I should pull up a chart to explain this, but when you look at that, it was like there was like that floor which was forming sort of like the base of the triangle, and it kept, like, the price kept trying to like run up and getting smacked down, so that you had lower highs and like flat lows. But when you look at a Bitcoin chart now on this bear market, it doesn't look like that. You don't have this thing where it's just always trying to go back up and then getting smacked down and going back down to the same level. It's been irregular on both sides. So I don't necessarily think we have to trapdoor down, but I don't think, and I also don't think the Hex community needs to capitulate for the broader crypto to turn around and go back up.
I hope not. But it seems like interest rates are going up, man. So if there's no money printing, it just seems like for a year or two we're just going to be like, we might go up, but I think all-time highs are. Look, it depends. It depends what happens. Like, you could get like PulseChain launching like literally in a week. You know, if Richard Hart came out and said PulseChain launching in a week, Hex fucking pumps, dude. Hex fucking pumps immediately on that. I don't know to where, but it definitely pumps, because people are going to be like, oh shit, I'm going to get, like, I can buy at this low price and get a copy on the new chain.
Yeah. I think that narrative's pretty solid, that Hex would pump on that news. What I was going to say before is, last night we actually saw for the first time a significant decoupling. And look, this is one data point, so don't put.
Do you want to show?
I'm not saying yay. Bitcoin's decorrelated, but all the stock markets got fucked. The dollar index went up, which typically is what fucks other assets, everything, including Bitcoin. And Bitcoin went pumping hard up. So Bitcoin did the opposite last night of what you would expect, or over the last 24 hours or whatever, of what you would expect it to do if that correlation was continuing between legacy finance and crypto. So hopefully we get more examples of that.
Is there a chart that you could show us?
Well, because it's 4 different charts, right? Like, as in, it's like two stock markets, the dollar index, and the Bitcoin chart. But
hey, let me just shill something. Let me just shill something for Sammy for 1 second.
Yeah, sure.
So Sammy has organised a Melbourne Hex meetup on the 8th of October at
Very cool.
3:30 p.m. So
Oh, that's soon.
yeah,
It's like only a week away or something, just over a week.
Yeah. It's not that far away, less than 2 weeks away. So I'm not sure where that is. Sammy, do you want to tell us where they can go? Is there a group or a Telegram group or something for that? If there is, do you want to pop it in the chat and I'll shill it. People can go there if they're in Melbourne.
Yeah, that sounds dope.
Always a lot of fun partying with Sammy. She just went to Vegas and partied with all the Hexicans in Vegas. So if you're in Melbourne,
And can I add a shill to this? For the amount of time that I've been in crypto, the people that get the most respect later down the track are the people who were at the meetups when the shit was in bear markets. People remember that shit. Like, they're like, oh, yo, I remember you were like one of fucking 12 people that rocked up to that Bitcoin thing when the market was just completely shagged. Like proving yourself that you actually believe in the future of that technology. So if you're thinking, oh, no, I might not go to this because I'm sad about the prices or whatever, flip your attitude. This is the time to go and meet people in crypto and, like, you know, gain that solidarity and gain the respect of being hardened against the emotional trickery that is price down.
Yep. It is. I've got to say, it's been over a year now, hasn't it? Has it been a year? When did we have all-time highs in Hex? Was it 1 year ago?
I stopped counting at 10. I stopped counting at 10 months, bro. It's been. I feel like if this was a metaverse, I would be out in the fucking desert with no water, with like a beard this big, just like wandering around in a daze, not knowing what the fuck's going on, just yelling out like, Richard, Dad, Richard, like. It just losing my mind, searching for water and barely surviving. Like that is what this last fucking 10 months have been. It is. I say 10 months, but you're probably right. It's probably over a year now. Should we go? Should we measure it?
It's exactly 1 year. All-time highs were exactly 1 year ago. The 27th.
I'm gonna turn my mic and camera off while I fucking vomit all over this desk.
Look at this shit. Look at this. Yeah, right there.
Fuck, man.
25th, 26th, 27th, right there. So
shit,
on the 27th,
exactly a year, bro.
Oh, hang on. This. My apologies.
Oh, it'd be similar though. It would be very similar.
Yeah. It'd be similar.
Bro, that's really saddening.
Yeah. So all-time, it's such an interesting all-time high section. Like it wasn't like parabolic. It just went up and then it just, for about the 8th of September through to the 9th of, it was like a whole month of just like between
sideways
35 and 50 cents, you know?
Yeah.
It's a weird all-time high.
It didn't have an obvious blow off top. It wasn't like, you can't point at that chart. Anyone who points to that chart and was like, I knew that it was the top, I'd be like, don't be a dumbass. You couldn't have known by looking at that chart.
Yeah, there's no way.
Like you said, you can barely tell in retrospect that would be the top. Like there's no obvious top signs.
Anywhere up until, I would say, June 2022, like even like up until May 2022, there was still
hope. Yep, there was still hope.
Take off, and then we just got
narratives were still intact.
What happened.
By the way, I just want to mention.
Can I just
I think we've got a mad lag.
Oh, do we? Yeah, I think we do.
I think we've got a mad lag because I'm not trying to talk over the top of you, and I'm finding that we are doing it a lot.
Give me a second. I'm gonna dip out and come back in.
Oh, well, are you sure that won't crash the stream? Because you're the host, right?
Yeah, it'd be fine.
All right. Well, while day 43 is gone, I'm going to do a little shill of my own. I've been starting to construct a list of all the things I like about the ETHW chain. You guys know that I'm advocating that shit. And so I'm going to read from this list. This is not complete. This is only the shit that I basically made this list off the top of my head. And I'm going to keep building on it. And then I might make a stream where I just like go through, and trust me, even just listing off line items, this stream's going to end up being quite long. Free coins massively reduces financial risk. Now, you could argue that technically the shit's not free. If you own an asset and there's a chain fork, like you own a crypto asset and there's a chain fork, technically what you paid initially is what you paid for both of them. So people thinking that the coins they got on one side of a fork that they got for free that's just framing, right? What realistically, whatever you paid on the initial input, that was your input economic energy to receive both, right? But with that explanation out of the way, a lot of people are treating it like as if it's free, or for anyone who was just going to totally ignore the chain, in that sense, it's free to access. Able to end small hex stakes with low fees. So for anyone who's got stakes that they did ages ago where they didn't realize that the fees on Ethereum were going to blow up, I had some like that. Now on this chain, you can actually go and end them and get your hex out of them, right? So that's pretty cool. We've got a higher share rate already on hex. I'm not sure exactly. People have been discussing what the mechanics behind that are. We've had highly daily share payouts, but I'm not sure if that's all the time, and I'm not sure if that's going to continue. Proof of work security model, which in my opinion has better decentralization, censorship resistant. The hex price is actually going up for once, which is one thing that everyone should probably be excited about. It's easier to onboard people when you've got lower fees and a lower hex price, which that chain does. Welcome back 43. I'm just running through a quick list. I've only got 5 more items on it of why I like the other chain. We've now got redundancy if the other ETH chain fails, which is something that I personally was quite stressed about, like with the PulseChain delays. I'm like, I want this redundancy so that if the Bitcoiners are right about ETH and it fails, then we'll have our hex on PulseChain. And so now we've actually already got that redundancy up, which is great. Cheaper to play with DeFi, like so you can experience DeFi, you can get LPs, do farming and stuff like that without the risk that the fees are going to exceed what you're doing. So it's a good learning experience in that respect. Now you can run different strategies on each chain, which includes things like the maxi perpetuals, the ICOSA stuff, like with the staking pools on ICOSA, your hex stakes. Hex laddering is possible now. So it gives you opportunity to basically run 2 different strategies on 2 different chains. And it means then if one strategy ends up being good, like really good, then you win, right? So it gives you 2 more chances to it gives you 2 chances rather than 1 to have a really good strategy. Using it like a testing learning experience for PulseChain, because there's a lot of similarities there. So I think that's a really good reason to use it. Narratives that people have already adopted with lower prices. Oh, this is a massive one. This is a massive one that I worked out. I was like, you've got 2 coins, Hex Proof of Work and ETH Proof of Work, where you don't have to convince anyone that the value proposition and that the actual token itself is legit. People already know that shit's legit because they've experienced it and they already chose to actively invest in it previously. And now it's like you've got the exact same code for a much cheaper price. So I know that part of that is framing, but it's true that you, like, in terms of the sales pitch to someone, you don't have to explain to someone, hey, sit down. This is a crypto you're not aware of. I need to explain to you how it works. You're like, bro, it's just Hex for cheaper on this other chain. You already know what Hex is. If you're onboarding or converting someone who already is a Hex fan, right? And then the last one on this list is shows that we think for ourselves, which is one that Maddie came up with. Decentralization versus appeal to authority. And this is that we need to start showing, like, one of the single points of failure in Hex is what if someone goes and threatens Richard? What if Richard dies? What if Richard loses his mind and says that Hex is shit when we all know that it's not? What if he finds a new project that he likes and has a new project and that's his baby and he doesn't give a fuck about Hex anymore? Demonstrate to the world that as a community, we can think for ourselves, please. And this is a demonstration of that Richard is silent on it. Show that you can think for yourself. Show that you've got that. Now, as a final comment, which is unrelated to this list, I wanted to clarify something that I did say on Maddie's stream, where I said that I've been going into all these group chats that I'm in, these crypto group chats, and telling them, guys, stop effing around. Get on this chain. It's wicked. There's awesome pumps. There's all these advantages. It's legendary. What I failed to mention is all of those groups are effing OGs. These are groups of people that have been in crypto for a really long time. They understand crypto. They understand the risks. They understand all of that shit. So don't think that I'm just going into random groups where I've got no idea of what their experience level is and being like, come on over to this new chain. Don't worry about the risks. I'm not doing that. So I forgot to mention that because in my head, that was obvious because I knew the groups that I was talking about, but the audience didn't know that what I was talking, that they might have thought that I was just going into these old old crypto groups and saying like recommending something that could hold risk. So risks are involved. Do your own research on it. But I really like this new chain, and this list is going to grow, guys.
Can I ask you? Can you speak to the replay attack risk?
Yeah, well, I think that's been debunked now. The team that launched Ethereum Proof of Work said that was definitely something that they were not only aware of, but they were very cautious about. So they have done everything that they can do in terms of how the fork was launched or continued, rather, which should be a more accurate way of saying it, to prevent the potential for replay attacks. So the devs and the people involved in that side of the fork were aware and have tried to mitigate against that. Then there's all the things that I was saying about replay attacks, why even before I read that article, that I wasn't really that concerned. Remember that by definition, a replay attack means that they do not have access to your private keys. This is not an attack that gives access to your funds or your private keys, your wallets, or any shit like that.
They can
all it means is
execute the same transaction on a different chain. That's it, right?
Yeah, a replay attack is you take a signed transaction and then you broadcast it on a network that it was not intended for to achieve a result that the actual owner of that address did not want to do. So if the only stuff that I've been doing has been in my own wallets, I haven't been sending funds to other people. So what's someone going to replay? Are they going to force me to buy Hex on the other chain? Oh no, I was going to do that anyway, bro. Thanks for saving me the time and effort of clicking the button. So provided you're not doing anything that you would drastically be devastated. And also remember, you're still in control of those keys. So if someone did make me buy Hex on the POS chain, theoretically, I can just go and undo it. It's still within my wallet, still within my private keys. I can just undo it. Also, because the fees are nearly zero on the proof of work chain, when they try to do a replay attack, it won't be accepted by miners because the fee is going to be so much lower than what miners are accepting to put transactions into blocks. So that's another protection that maybe is not permanent, because you could argue that at some point in the future, the freaking fees might drop or whatever, and then that transaction might be sitting there waiting and get included in block. But there were other reasons as well. I've been through them on a stream of mine. I don't think it's what I genuinely believe is the risks to you as you cruise around on the one chain. Like, so it's you staying on Ethereum and interacting with front ends and back ends is way more risk than to your stack, or at least equal risk than this idea of a replay attack occurring. It kind of requires the same maliciousness over on that chain, but it's actually harder because not only do they have to trick you, but they have to do it in a way that's replayable. So it's actually harder for them. It's actually an extra step in them scamming you. So in terms of their malicious intent, it actually makes it harder.
It's very unlikely to happen with something like Uniswap or anything like that, because there's just so many elements that go into something like that it's probably unlikely.
And we've got enough trusted front ends now. We've got front ends that were built by people within the Hex community. So if you don't trust them, then what the hell like were you doing involving in? So, you know, if you don't trust the devs of like Maxi and Hedron and stuff like that, then I assume you didn't get involved in any of their shit. Like, so there's enough infrastructure over there by like people of, I want to be clear here that you should also always have that adversarial thinking where you don't trust anyone. But what I'm saying is there are front ends over there that are like you can apply a higher trust score, if you will, to those front ends than just like PalSwap or like something where you're like, I've got no idea who made this.
Yep. Dude, I've seen a lot of people like talking about ETHW.
And it's
I'm
hot.
like,
dude, it's hot because it's pumping.
Yeah, the one person I haven't seen talk about it is Richard Hart. Now that could be because because not because he's doesn't care for it. It could just be that he does not talk about shit that's not his. So Hex is his, but if he's going to, like, if he wasn't going to do a fork, then maybe he would talk about it. But he's going to fork Ethereum. So he's going to do that. So why would he talk about some other chain?
Yeah.
You know? And I totally understand that. I mean, I think that, look, ETHW, how many issues have there been? Is there a bridge? Is there a working bridge right now?
Yeah, sorry. There are 3 bridges, but I don't trust any of them. Like yet.
Yeah. So there's
3 bridges.
No way apart from going through an exchange,
centralized exchange,
potentially having to KYC.
Or just use your mirrored shit that's over there already. If you had assets on the ETH chain, you've got stuff over there you can use.
Talking about
you don't have to bring
cashing out. I'm talking about cashing out.
To cash out. Yeah. There are centralized exchanges that don't have KYC, bro. There are centralized exchanges you can. There's centralized exchange. Not if you want dirty, disgusting fiat currency. Then you have to KYC. But if you just want to change into a different crypto, and then send that crypto to somewhere else, like i.e. one of your KYC exchange, whatever. Like, and in fact, I don't recommend ever doing exchange to exchange transactions. But what my point is you can extract your ETHW out to a non-KYC exchange, sell it into any other crypto, and then either take that crypto and do crypto tings or somehow wash it. Like you could run it through a Wasabi coin mixer and then go and then eventually turn it back into dollars if you don't want that link to your non-KYC account or whatever, right? Like there are ways to, all you really need is the ability to exit the chain and turn it into something else of monetary value. So the fact that you can go and ideally without KYC, ideally while maintaining your financial privacy. So the fact that exists was enough for me, that you can get it into Bitcoin, you can turn it into ETH, you can turn it into whatever you want. So
I'm always like a bit dubious about centralized exchanges. Look, but ultimately you have to trust. You have to trust the bridge operators with admin keys. So it's essentially the same thing. There's a level of trust involved.
Yeah, you know, Richard said that there's going to be always some. Nothing is 100% trustless. There's always some trust spotted around the place, and you just have to choose whether it's acceptable to you.
Yeah. And when it comes to bridges, there's no way around that. As we were discussing before the stream, there's no way around that. And as you were discussing with Maddie on stream, you were talking about bridges and admin keys and stuff, and there is currently no way outside of a theoretical way. There's no way in practice to achieve that, from what I understand.
You know how you were talking about how Richard's silent on this, right? Like there's a lot of narratives flying around, and the only ones, and I don't mind people sort of brainstorming or fantasizing about shit, but the ones that I don't like are the assumption that his silence means that he doesn't like it. I think if he didn't like it, he would actually be more likely to step up and be like, I don't like this, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember when I started getting really mouthy about wanting to debate Richard Hart, and we were fairly confident that based on who had been like retweeting that stuff, that he would have been aware of my challenge, but he was dead silent on it for a really long time. And my theory was that it was to keep his options open, right? Because once you open your mouth, you limit your options, right? And the example I gave back then was, if he says to me, no, I don't want to debate you for this, this, and this reason, then potentially I can go and fix those reasons, come back and be like, how about now, mofo, let's go, right? So I think he's just keeping his options open.
I've never seen him place stipulations on people to debate them. The only one I've seen is the one.
Good point.
Yeah, the only one I've seen is with who was that? Who's that guy? The guy who does interviews and he wears a black tie and a black suit with a white shirt.
Oh, Lex Freeman. Lex Freeman.
Yeah, that was just some. I don't know why that didn't happen, but that's just some.
By the way,
alpha male bullshit. Like, no, fucking.
You come to me.
You come here. Bitch. No, I'll come there. No, you fly here first class and I'll pay you 10 grand. No, you fly here. Nah. It's like, come on, guys.
I've got bottle service in the club. You come in my VIP area. You come to me. Sorry. It was just an example though. Like, I'm not saying that was necessarily it, but that was my theory, was that he was keeping options open, and I think the same is true here. What benefit does he get of you learn more as time goes on, right? You learn more about what people think, and you also learn more. You get to observe the chain and how it's performing. So
he will
be all advantages.
I would be very surprised if they're not observing with great interest.
Oh yeah, they'd be following for sure.
Yeah, they'd be observing with great interest to
someone
see what's going on, like game theory wise, like what's going on, what are people doing, where are they going, like what behavior is there, where's the flow of funds, how long can we keep the chain going without a bridge? That's going to be the thing. Like,
someone in the Telegram
I don't
chat,
know how long it will take for a bridge to be put up on that chain, but I would hope it doesn't take too long. I would hope.
I'm not really fussed about the bridge. Like, as in, I'm happy over there playing around with no bridge. Like, so for me personally, the bridge is not going to bring that much to my experience. Like, I'm actually happy playing around in that sandbox, because I've been saying to people, I'll drop you my analogy in a second, but I'll finish what I was saying. What was I saying? I was saying, someone in the Telegram chat was saying, for Richard, it's a win-win. If it takes off and it's hyper successful, he gets to say, yeah, that's my project. Hex is Hex. That's my shit. And if it all goes down in a ball of flames, he'll get to say, I never told anyone to fuck around on that chain. So by staying silent, he's got the win no matter what happens, but only if he waits until something actually happens, whether it's success or failure. If he takes a stance before you find out what happens, then he's got a risk of looking like he didn't know shit, or that he chose the wrong thing, or he's not as good at crypto as people perceive.
He does not shill stuff that is not his. He does not shill stuff that's not his. Think about how long
counter to that, dude.
No, but think about how long. Think about how long it took him to utter the words Hedron and Maximus. Like, it took him months. And they're things built on top of his like contract. They're like, not even.
This is better. No, dude. Let me say this. This is a fork. So the shit that he has already approved, like promoting Hex and saying that it was the correct design decision to build it on ETH, This is Hex on ETH. It's a fork. It's identical. It's the same. This is no less Hex on ETH than the other one. Like you said, it's just social consensus as to which one's like the real shit. So there is an approval that he has already given without him. He can't retract approval for Hex on ETH. Like he can't say, oh, the code over there is shit and the code over here is good. That wouldn't make sense. We would know he's lying. Like, so he can only, whereas the things that you're talking about that got built afterwards that were not by him, they really were not by him. And he needed to see how they would play out because, see, what's going on, maybe look at the code and shit like that. This one, he doesn't need to do any code review. It's the same code. He doesn't need to, so he just needs to see whether it is reasonably adopted in a community sense, either by our community and the broader community.
But it's like they didn't launch with like the options for swapping things weren't great. Like so ETHW, there was 1 or 2 sites for swapping. Like, so they didn't launch fully.
So Hedron did Hedron. This was something that really impressed me. Shout out to Maxi and Hedron devs, because they created front end support nearly instantaneously. I'm pretty sure that those 2 front ends were the first project front ends of the entire chain. And PowerSwap would have been in there as well because they were like very obsessed with being like the first formal DEX of that chain. Those three front ends would have been the first 3 front ends. So we're still using like Hedron shit for starting and stopping stakes. So that's our Hex. We're using that as the Hex front end. Because stake.hex go.hex.com or whatever hasn't formally supported it yet.
Shout out to Alex, man. Shout out to Alex.
Massive.
But I mean,
massive.
you can end a stake just on. Actually,
I don't think we would have had the explosion that we saw of the chain, of the Hex community, and of my Telegram if it had not been for those guys bringing that support that quickly.
So what about the other one? There's the other fork as well. So there's the ETH Fair fork. So that's another fork, another system state with another set of Hex, which is, as you say, Richard Hart's Hex is there as well. So that obviously isn't doing, it's not getting as many people on there as ETHW. They released it pretty much the same time. They came out at the same time. If they'd come out at different times,
identical block height.
If they'd come out at different times, they might have got more interaction because people like to go to the new thing and test it out. But
that's a really good point. That's
a really
good point.
They
may have done better if they had waited.
Yeah. I think so. I believe that would,
and that would have meant they could have learnt some lessons on like they could have monitored the ETHW chat and seen what people were complaining about, the things that people liked, and basically modified their launch to play on that, on those pros and cons, and then use that as a point of difference. That's actually a really good point, man. That is a really good point.
And they could have had like instead of launching haphazardly with shit not working right and people like scratching their heads like, what do I do? How do I do this? How do I like?
Formal documentation, more documentation guides.
We are going to like. I'm a believer. I really do believe that PulseChain is going to be amazing. I think this time, I think all this time that it's taking to do stuff, I think they're building. They are building, and they're building good shit for PulseChain. That's what I think. That's just my opinion, right? So when
I hope you mean in parallel though, like as in that the main chain's not ready yet, so they're also building other shit in the meantime.
So I think they're building like they're obviously building PulseX. They forked. They're forking.
I think PulseX was done ages ago.
Yeah, I just think that they're adding shit to it, man. I think they're just like realizing, like, how good would it be if there was like, if the shit like also had like an anonymity thing in it.
Oh,
Can you
bro,
imagine?
you know I'm
Can you
all
imagine?
about that. You know I'm all about that.
Yeah.
And bro, Richard has been quite, like, to me, surprisingly vocal for his status about issues of human rights and freedom. So he obviously believes in it strongly enough that he's willing to take some risks in, like, I'm talking like reputational risk, not necessarily safety risk, to stand up for those things that are so important in crypto and in life. So whereas some people sometimes bring narratives to me and I'm like, that doesn't really sound like something Richard would do. I can't prove that that's not what's going to happen, but that doesn't sound likely. It's possible, but not likely. What you just said is possible and plausible. So I would be fucking keen for that, man.
Yeah, man.
And then you would know it would contain no bullshit. It would not be this fake privacy shit that some people do, you know?
Well, there was something called Hexnado a long time ago. Maybe years ago. So Hexnado would work on PulseChain, I would have thought. If it could get hosted somewhere, it would work, because why wouldn't it?
Yeah, low fees.
Like super low fees.
Low fees, dominant community.
So I'd like to see, I'm interested to know whether Tornado would work on PulseChain or something similar. I know that there's other protocols working on bringing, anonymity to PulseChain. They're currently already on Ethereum, but I don't know enough about them to discuss it publicly. I don't want people to.
Anonymity is definitely easier than bridging. That's for sure, because you're staying on the same chain. Like,
well, they've already done it. Yeah.
Exactly. They've always been reasonable
I mean,
solutions.
it depends how the bridging is. I guess how much data is kept. With the bridging. Because I guess the bridging itself, if you're going to a different chain, like for example, like there were bridges to Monero, right? So you bridge to Monero.
Yeah, they did. You're talking about those cross-chain atomic swaps or something?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you can, but I thought, look, I could be wrong.
I think an atomic swap is just a fancy, like, tech-sounding name for a bridge. I think that's all it is. Like, really? An atomic swap just means, I think an atomic swap is just like you're giving up one asset on one chain and getting another asset on another chain. Yeah, pretty sure.
I think there's an issue when it's a person as opposed to a contract. And I don't know exactly.
But you could say the same thing about bridges. Like, as in, you could say some bridges are centralized and some bridges are decentralized, or trustless and trusted.
Yeah.
So the atomic swaps were meant to be trustless, by the way. The atomic swaps were trustless.
Between two people.
Between two chains and two entities. Yeah.
But it's two entities. It's two people who are. There's like two people who are authorizing, and then they've got a client that they can refer to on each side.
But if you can do it between two people, then you can do it to yourself, right? Because you can be both people on both sides of it.
Yeah. But the issue with EVM is that when it's I mean, this is my understanding of it, my very limited understanding of it, that you can't, like, like a contract doesn't have that light client of the other chain. So that's where you've got that issue, because you need a light client to verify what's going on the other chain as well.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I don't know. Go watch a video by Kyle. Let me show you. I'll give you a.
Oh yeah, tell everyone about that video, man.
Yeah, let me show you give you a little bit of a
Hey everybody, I'm very tired, so this probably isn't going to be a great explanation. But somebody asked me why, well, not somebody, many somebodies have asked why do token bridges need admin keys? For context, for anyone just coming in, there's a lot of interest in having the ability to lock up your coins, either native token or some token spec like ERC20, lock them up on Ethereum.
Oh, that thing's struggling, man.
And then have a representation on some other blockchain, sidechain, L2, so that you can manipulate them there. Where in theory, the fees to do transactions are much lower, or it's much faster, or you get finality, or other products that rely on higher throughput. And if you can transact and operate with a representation, or think of it like a hologram or something, it's a projection into another network or into another domain. And it acts and moves and can be transacted with normally. And then when all is said and done, whoever's holding it at the end gets to cash it out for the real thing. On the
Okay, I'm not going to continue with that because it goes for a good 20 minutes. So
does he have a conclusion that you could just jump straight to the conclusion, or it's sort of like it's not like that?
you have to watch the whole thing.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Like the shit's too complicated, man. It's too complex to not. You have to give it its respect. It like that. You need to watch the whole video. He goes through step by step what the problem is with having why it's hard to have, or why it's currently impossible to have a trustless bridge or a bridge without admin keys. So it's definitely worth a watch. It's probably, that video is from, when is that video from? It's not recent.
I'd say that's definitely worth people watching.
Yeah, that's from a bit over a year ago. It's about, from the 28th of August.
Do you want to punch the link into the chat for people?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, by the way, thanks, Sammy, for shilling my Telegram in the chat. I really appreciate that. I'm just going through. Oh, and if anyone's got a wrench, can you guys get rid of that like dating site spam, please? And I'm just checking whether there's any comments. Bitcoin's pumping, by the way, actually, everyone. I was just having a little look at the chart. It's doing really well. So,
have a chart? Can we have a look?
It's doing well for a limp dick bitch, but it's doing okay.
So you still don't,
it's better than it going down.
You don't think it's going down? You don't think it's going to go down to like that 13, 14K?
Actually, as more time passes, I'm actually getting more and more confident that we're not even going to go down to the bottom that I thought would be the potential bottom, which was like 14, 15K. Yep. So I've always said 14, 15K and wick-ish, especially on high time frames. So like maybe a wick to 14K on like say the daily or weekly chart, but and then move back up from there. But I think like the longer that time goes on, the more people become numb to these macro narratives that are meant to induce fear, whether it's like war or inflation or whatever. And I genuinely believe that when you have one segment of crypto or even a single project pumping like F, it brings FOMO into the space. And I think what's going on at the moment on ETHW could be enough to save all of crypto from having to have that next leg down. So I still think the leg down is possible, but it's optional. We don't have to take this leg down. Crypto can bottom here. But and I think now with time going on, people becoming numb to fear narratives, and ETHW, what's going on over there with coins pumping all the time, we could have a situation where we just kind of like go sideways for a bit longer and start moving back up.
Yeah, man.
But remember that when the majority expect something, that's the only thing that doesn't happen. So
I feel like
maybe in that
hexagons
respect,
have been waiting for a pump for so long. The only thing that I believe is going to happen is when PulseChain is like, it's certain it's going to launch. I think we're going to have a hex pump. I don't know how big it's going to be. But apart from that, I've given up trying to work out when, like the timing of when things, when we're going to see all-time highs. I've resigned myself to the belief that like all-time highs, three, like worst case scenario, 3-4 years away. That's what I'm thinking. Which sounds very bearish. Having said that, it could be next month. Hey, it could be next month.
My thing's going to sound even more bearish, is that the entire time that crypto has existed has been in a macro bull market. So we might get fucked. Maybe, like as in, and not necessarily have a guaranteed bull market just because a halving is coming up. That's my worst case scenario. I don't think it's going to happen, by the way. I'm just saying in terms of like a plausible bearish scenario
for even Bitcoin.
If you say for everything, for all of crypto, if it stays retarded, if it stays risk on, if it stays risk on, which
so
shouldn't.
Difficult to understand, like how that's. I find it hard to understand how Bitcoin was $20,000 in 2017, went up to, what is it now?
2,300, I think.
2,300.
I just dropped back down to like 2,150. It literally just dumped. Like 5 minutes ago, it was 2,300. Now it's 2,150.
I find it hard to understand how like the biggest and the best is just, 5 years, and it's like where it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, well, so that narrative broke. There was a narrative that Bitcoin has never, anyone who has held Bitcoin for 4 years or longer has never been, if you hold Bitcoin for 4 years or longer, you will be in profit. And that narrative broke, I believe. Only slightly, slightly, right?
It's just getting extended day by day.
Yeah. So there's that. I subscribe to this whole, like, when everyone thinks something, then it doesn't happen. So
it's just disappointing.
You know how Richard Hart says
11K. I'm just disappointed. I don't hold Bitcoin. I'm just disappointed. To me,
in Bitcoin, man, I'm more disappointed in Hex. Hex was the one that actually had the reasoning to actually be bear market proof. Bitcoin, we expected a bear market.
But now we've learned our lesson, and we know that nothing's bear market proof. It's all together. But I'm just disappointed, like, that in 5 years, fucking 5 years, man, 4 or 5 years, like where Bitcoin's like where it was pretty much. It's very disappointing, man. That's a long time, considering it's only been like out there for 13 years. Like 5 years is a substantial chunk of its
that's
life.
A good point.
I
wasn't with you until you made that additional comment in terms of percentage of life that is actually getting up there to like over a third of its life.
Well over a third. Up almost half of its life, man.
No, it's about
6.5 years is it's half its life.
It's between a third and a half.
Yeah.
It's between a third and a half. So fuck, man. So it's pretty
it's disappointing.
But dude, I stand by what I said though. I'm more disappointed in Hex. Way more.
Yeah.
Way more disappointed in Hex than I am in Bitcoin. Like this for me in Bitcoin, I didn't see it as being really that like counter to my expectations. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Like it's because man, like percentage wise, like if it was a bit higher, then maybe it wouldn't have done that thing where it broke the 4 year narrative. If it just like bottomed a little bit higher or whatever. It effectively came back to the previous all-time high pretty much. So as long as we don't go down another leg, it still sort of has maintained support on previous all-time high, like previous cycle all-time high, by the way. That's not really that like detrimental to my soul, but seeing Hex bleed like this when I genuinely believe that narrative,
it's the biggest and the best. It's just because it's the biggest and the best, and it's supposed to be leading the way. And
well, I'll tell you what part of the reason is, man. It's the fucking it's all these fucking idiots launching fucking scam coins and shit coins, distracting the attention away from it. Like it is. I know that's a BTC Maxi narrative, but if people weren't constantly convincing fucking noobs that their shit is the next Bitcoin, which is a narrative that always works on new people, we wouldn't have like this bleeding out of the Bitcoin dominance against thousands and thousands and thousands of projects. And you have to remember that some of these fucks are celebrities and respected in the tech sector. So when you get these fuckers coming in who have like social credibility, particularly in the tech space, being like, my project's going to be the next big thing, fuckers will believe them. And instead of putting their money in the fucking gold standard of crypto, they will, it distracts economic energy and delays the mission of the entire space. Like it is a factor. Yeah. We've got more altcoins now than ever before. And that statement that I just made, you can clip it and replay it, and it'll be valid at every day till the end of time. We're never going to go backwards in the number of alts. Like there will always be more altcoins. As more people find crypto and think that the solution is them having their own ability to print money, there is just going to be more and more and more alts. We've already seen it with the explosion within the Hex community of how many people want their own fucking coin. It won't end. It won't end. And even if only a small amount of economic energy is being bled by each scam coin,
do you know why I'm so disappointed?
It's enough that collectively it bleeds where Bitcoin goes.
Can I tell you why I'm so disappointed? Because think about how much fucking money central banks have printed since 5 years ago.
I agree with this, dude. I agree with this.
You know?
I agree.
So I'm just disappointed, man. I'm just disappointed.
Man, that actually hurts my feelings. Yeah.
Dude, this I agree with.
Dude, I agree with this 100%.
It hurts my feelings as well, dude. It hurts my feelings like that. I want Bitcoin to be more valuable. I don't want it to be this price.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm not saying it to fucking
someone could have just
make you.
Someone could have held cash. Like someone could have held cash and been in the same financial position. In fact, cash in a bank, they would have earned some like little pathetic amount of interest compared to holding it in Bitcoin. So it wrecks the, you know how I get upset when Hex price goes down because it fucks onboarding, because people are like, why would I buy that dog shit chart? This is the same, where it fucks the narrative of like, oh, it's an inflation hedge. No, it isn't. Like not at the moment. It's not. Like not over the last 5 years or 4 years or whatever it hasn't been. And so these pricks are out there getting rich in the legacy system, printing their own money, being corrupt, being bribed. All of that corruption goes on. And the people who have stayed true to an ethical financial system should be financially rewarded for that dedication. And instead, we've got Bitcoin and Hex just bleeding out like it's a fucking, yeah. So from that perspective, man, I agree with you 1,000,000%. Really disappointed.
You know, like with Bitcoin, like having like a bit of a lackluster, like run up, I wouldn't be surprised if the next one is has a bit more oomph to it.
Yep. Yeah, I was thinking that a bit ago. We're thinking maybe the next one will be more psycho. Yep.
Just have a bit more coil, like the spring will just be, because
the other
there's
thing,
less and less being produced. There's less and less being produced, and not too far from now, there's going to be only 3.125 or whatever produced every block. So that's already it's not much being produced. So that supply shock is going to at some point has to have an effect. At some point has to have an effect. But I still think that Hex is like a better option, because at least with Hex you can lock it up and you're getting more of it. you know. So even if the price bleeds out, at least you're getting more of the shit, you know. So I just like the way that.
So the other side of this is a comment that Jack Levine made on our stream, where he was saying, because Bitcoin doesn't have like much on-chain trading, if any at all, it's all on centralized exchanges, they can manipulate prices somewhat. I believe that's probably only in the short term, but notice how recently the government has taken crypto attacks more seriously than before. A possible narrative, and you might think that this is like pretty out there, but a possible narrative is, as part of their attack on crypto that they have been doing, that is more ferocious than anything we've seen in the past, they could be suppressing price. And what it will take is for eventually for enough holders to actually have their own keys to create the actual supply shock that will show where the price is meant to be. So one of the things that I think is important in that, and this is not just for Bitcoin, this is for all crypto, is the more people hold their keys, hold their own crypto self custody, the less shit fuckery can go on, the less like manipulation and shit like that can go on to the downside. It can still be manipulated to the upside, but sorry. It protects against upside manipulation as well. It protects against upside manipulation slightly as well, because it means if they're manipulating it to the upside and you've got the real asset, like a bit like what's happened when you've seen like silver price, like how physical silver ends up being worth more, right? The digital version of a silver short squeeze, or the digital version of physical silver being worth more, having a premium over spot, is you with your keys worth more than the fraudulent shit that they've got on the exchange if they were manipulating the prices. So upwards, because you've got the real shit, so you can bring the real shit in and dump on their heads or whatever.
So I feel like it was a mistake that the Bitcoin maxis chased Trace Mayer out of town. I think that was a mistake. That guy was valuable to the ecosystem.
I did like Trace. Yeah. He had some really good ways of presenting ideas. He really did.
I would still like. I wish I could still.
But you know why, right?
Yeah. I know.
You know why, right?
No, but that just
he
means
he never apologized. He could have just apologized instead of ghosting. He could have apologized and been like, "Yeah, guys, actually."
I don't think that guy needs to apologize for anything. He's given like way too much to the community.
Nah, man. That's not how it works, man. That's not how it works. Because by that logic, the OGs that are shilling fucking Pulse launched scam coins, you could apply that same logic and say, yo, this guy's done so much for Hex, let him fucking launch a scam coin. Hell no. Nah, that shit never flies, man.
So, like, correct me if I'm wrong. I think what he was talking about was Mimblewimble, right?
Yeah, he shilled Mimblewimble coin at a Bitcoin conference to noobs who didn't even understand crypto properly.
Hang on.
So he targeted people who were not familiar with crypto and tried to shill them an alt at a fucking Bitcoin conference, bro. Not cool. Not cool, dude.
Is why. No, the question is why.
He either got paid by Mimblewimble or he had a fat bag. Like, it's always an indirect or direct financial incentive.
Bro, he might have had a fat bag, but didn't like Litecoin incorporate Mimblewimble into some anonymity?
The tech, not the coin. The tech, not the coin.
Tech.
So it was the coin that he was shilling, not the tech. And ask yourself the question: if he was legit about it and thought this tech is sick, I want to promote this tech, why didn't he go to the other OGs who he's fucking tight with and be like, hey guys, I think this is sick. We should tell everyone about it at this conference. Nah, he was at like the after parties and in the foyers giving out like little Mimblewimble fucking business cards, like buy this crypto. So he was doing it on the sly. So if you believed in it, you would get the other Bitcoiners involved, or at least get their opinion before you go shilling it to noobs. Nah, man. Nah. Party foul for sure. Like, and the Bitcoin, lots of big name Bitcoiners said we would forgive him if he fucking acknowledged what he did was wrong, and like if he at least discussed it with us, but he just ghosted. Bitcoiners didn't cancel him. He canceled himself.
Yeah, he just
he did an Alex Saunders, bro. He fucking canceled himself. Like no one chased him out. He ghosted. He ghosted out in shame, and he
Bro,
fucking should
how
have.
dare
He was so
How
embarrassed.
dare you
He was so
compare
embarrassed.
Trace Mayer to Alex Saunders?
Well, they both ghosted. They both ghosted themselves.
No,
They both
how
cancelled
dare you,
themselves
how
out of
dare
the.
you. Alex Saunders,
Well,
like,
I'm only comparing them on that one thing. I was
Yeah.
only comparing them on
Trace
ghosting
Mayer,
after
I learned so much shit of
ghosting
Trace
after
Mayer.
an embarrassing event. That's the only thing. I'm not saying,
guys,
I'm
you
not
can go
saying
back
they are
and
similar
listen.
in any other way other than they both ghosted after a very highly embarrassing event, rather than standing up to it, rather than like discussing with people openly and public in a public forum transparently why they did it, whether or not they thought it was acceptable. That's how you handle that shit if you're a fucking man. Like, and by the way, I do agree with you that I like Trace and I like watching the video. He was one of the people in my early Bitcoin journey that convinced me that Bitcoin was legit. Like, I love the shit that he had to say. But if he was a real man, he would have stuck around and taken responsibility for that shit, rather than just ghosting and disappearing out of the and some people say, like, oh, he's probably so rich he's on a yacht. So what? Like that doesn't mean you need to ghost.
I think this is like way overblown. Like, the guy talked about another coin. It's like, who cares?
Then why didn't he come back and discuss? Why didn't he come back and say that? Why has he got you? Why are you having to defend him? Why didn't he just defend himself?
I'm just saying,
if it wasn't that big a deal. If it wasn't a big deal.
I just don't think it was a big. I just don't think it's a big deal. Like, why even address it?
Well, it obviously was to him. Obviously, in his head, he thought it was a big enough deal. He was embarrassed enough that he decided he had to ghost himself out of.
Can I tell you what?
Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Fault my logic. Fault my logic.
Let me give me a go.
Okay.
Give me a go. If I had given to a community for years and years and years, and then I spoke about something else, like at a conference, and people like crucified me, like they crucified him. They absolutely crucified him for that.
Yeah.
Right. So I would be like, fuck these Bitcoin maxis. Like, that's what I would be like. I'd be like, fuck these guys. I don't owe
suck a dick.
What are you doing? I got my
as in I'm pretending to be Trace, that you just tell everyone, like, guess what? Suck a dick. But you haven't countered my argument. Why didn't he do that? He could have also done that. He could have just gone on Twitter and been like, suck a dick, I'm out. He could have just been like, you guys have.
I think that with who he was mixing with, he's mixing with like politicians and shit like that.
I don't mean literally putting suck a dick, but he could have just put after all the years that I've dedicated myself to evangelizing Bitcoin, the way that I've just been treated, I don't want to be a part of this community anymore. Boom, mic drop. That also would have been acceptable to me. Like,
but it's also acceptable not to do anything. That's also acceptable if that's what he wants to do.
Like, yeah, I mean, if you want to be a little bitch, like if you want to be a little bitch about it, then that's completely acceptable. It is your choice to be a little bitch. It is your choice to be a little bitch. Like, as in, that is a completely acceptable path that everyone is allowed to take. This is a free country. This is America.
Yeah. I don't think it's like, I don't think it's like he's a little bitch I just think that he just like, fuck this noise. Like, why would I even?
I'm partly joking.
You know what I mean? Like, seriously, I think he'd be like, fuck all this noise. Like, I have given to these motherfuckers for like years and years, and they treat me like this, you know? And you know, in his mind, I bet you he's thinking, fuck your, like, mic drop. But he probably didn't do it because he just didn't want to put it out on social. He doesn't want to create that wave on social. He just ghosted. You know what I mean?
Guys, I need to clear something up because there's people in the chat thinking that I work for the government. There are people in chat accusing me for working for the government because of this hoodie. This hoodie is a parody by they're called the Juice Media. They do honest government ads where they do parody shit of the government ads where they actually tell the truth. Where they're like, we're fucking up the barrier reef and enriching our like oil company friends and shit like that. They basically say the quiet part out loud. And this hoodie, the kangaroo and the emu have got security cameras. Oh yeah, if you make that big. So this hoodie, the kangaroo and the emu have got
shit fuckery.
It's like they've got security cameras on their heads, the emu and the thing. So it's like saying it's a surveillance state. And down the bottom, the text that you probably can't read says by Juice Media.
And
so
it's like
shout out.
alien, like spelt with an alien.
Oh yeah, there was like an alien up the top as well. It's pretty
Yeah,
weird.
but it's Australian
So
is spelled with an alien as well. Yeah.
Yes, and they misspell government as well. Government's also misspelled. But
Did they?
I recommend if you haven't,
that?
it's like
That looks right. No, that's right.
No, you're right. Oh shit. Oh, I swear I've seen them. Do a misspelling of the word government as well somewhere. But anyway, I recommend you guys sub to their channel, especially if you're in Australia, or even if you're not. In fact, they're branching out now. They do global ones. So the most recent one was Brazil. They've done a couple of United States ones, and it's quite funny because the girls have to put on accents to do them, and it's great. They basically, but remember, this is not just them going, oh man, governments are shit. They do really well-researched hit pieces. So when they talk about atrocities that are happening, they reference all of the new, like, so they're referencing things that are either government statistics or mainstream media or something like that. And I know that even though all of that shit is bullshit, you can't accuse them of not using, like, so they're attacking the governments and the news with their own data, with their own shit. So even though, so it's all referenced, it's all, they put all the sources, it's incredible and hilariously funny. So if you guys haven't seen that shit.
I have seen that. Yeah, it's
really
good. Very funny on YouTube, right?
Yes. Oh, by the way, the name of that GitHub repo thing is Gitea. So Gitea.
So,
all in one word, Gitea.
Can I just remind you, since you're an Australian government employee, can you please pay my social security payment, please? I want some.
Yeah, sure.
This bear market's hurting me, man.
If you bribe me, you know how this government works. If you bribe me, I will make sure that your claim takes priority or whatever. Just slip me a fucking, send me a few USDCs or whatever they are. Send me some censorship coin. Send me some central bank digital currency, and I'll hook you up, bro.
I'll send you some. How about I send you some Mimble Wimble?
And by the way, this needs to be said. If I was here on this stream wearing a government hoodie, I would be doing it ironically. Like,
yeah.
I've actually never had a government job in my life.
Dude, we actually had someone from a government agency on stream one time.
On our channel.
On our channel early on.
From what country?
I don't know where.
Australia,
I don't know
US?
where Unwrecked found. Like, I don't know where Unwrecked found some. Like, someone was streaming
came on as a government official.
The person came on, and I'm just like, are you at like some government office or something? They were streaming from like a government building, and they worked for the government. So this was early on. This was like really early on, but they were way into Hex. They were into Hex, dude. So I don't know.
Wait, that's one thing I love about crypto, man. It permeates through all cultures. So, like, you know how like we've got DJ Lethal in our chat. You've got people in all countries, all cultures. It's culture agnostic. It's wealth agnostic. Crypto doesn't give a shit. Like it's open to all, and then provably by when you see who gets involved in it and who gets excited by it. And so that's the mind virus that when people say, oh, governments will definitely stop it, it's like, yeah, like they might try if maybe before some of the people in the government start to get bags. And then once they, so there's two ways that government personnel can flip: a big bag or actually being an ethical person. So I think Cynthia Lumnus is the latter, where I think she started to understand Bitcoin and now wants to educate other politicians. But then you've probably got others that have just got fat bags, or their kids have got fat bags. like, you know how like you care about your kids and you care, like one of the things that a parent wants to do, one of the reasons why these bullshit, slimy politicians do all this corrupt nonsense is to enrich their family, right? So that they can make sure that their kids have got money. They want to look after their kids or whatever. When people say multi-generational wealth, the reason why that is presented as a positive is because of the fact that the idea is you're trying to look after your kids, grandkids, right? That's the idea. So imagine if one of these politicians, their kid has got like a fat ass bag of hex. You can look after their financial future by just making sure that these other politicians don't ever fuck it up regulatory wise. So it's like there's game theoretical elements as this shit starts to propagate through more and more and more people. And then because crypto is fundamentally ethical in terms of the crypto itself is less likely to be corrupted. If it can corrupt minds, it can, yeah. So as long as the ethical thing can be the thing that corrupts the minds of the corrupted, if that makes sense, then we have a win. Long term. So we're putting in the hard work now to make sure that we have a better future for everyone later.
I mean, I hope that's a byproduct of what's going on. Like, I sincerely do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the fucking mad games, dude. That's like, yeah, like, don't get me wrong.
Dude, bro. If you were over on ETHW, you would know all about the interim gains that are
the gains that I can't bridge off the network. Oh yeah, those gains.
Crypto will afford you. We just went through that. You absolutely can get the gains off the network.
Yeah. No, I'm just joking. No, look, dude, I'm on ETH, so W. I may as well. So nice. I don't have as much time to do stuff as I'm not in front of the computer all day. And plus the last like 3 or 4 days, dude, we've just like been sick. The whole family's been sick. I'm not sure if you can hear it in my voice, but
little bit.
Yeah. So I was just like earlier today, this morning when I was setting up the stream, I'm just like, I don't feel like I've got a little bit of brain fog. So I hope, which is probably the case.
Dude, you've been on point. Dude, you've been on point.
Cheers, bro. Cheers. Must be the pharmaceuticals, eh?
Legit. I've literally lost count of the number of times this stream that you have said shit where I'm either like, excellent point, I didn't think of that. That has changed my mind, or just like 100% agree, well said. Those types of things. Heaps.
Cheers, dude. Cheers.
Must be. Did you say must be the pseudos?
Must be the pseudo.
Do you know, I was in Singapore once, and for once I was with friends who are not retarded and not like so high risk that they're just like, fuck it, let's just do drugs anyway. And these girls that I was with, they actually do not normally take drugs at all. And obviously we were going to this music festival, and we had all decided, like, obviously no drugs. Like, we were obviously not going to do drugs. So over there, it's like death penalty shit. Like, it's like end your life. Like, and one of the girls who doesn't do drugs went to a pharmacy without telling us, got a little sleeve of pseudoephedrine pills that they sell there over the counter, completely legal. We took them to this music festival, and we took them, and I wasn't expecting much. Dude, we were fucking jacked. I don't remember many other music festivals where we've just been so like, just running, like, let's go over here. No, let's go over there. No. Like, it was just, we were jacked like children on red cordial, bro. It was hectic. And I was like, that's nuts. That, like, why would you go and buy illegal drugs when you can just go to the pharmacy and get shit like this over the counter? But the other thing is low tolerance, because none of us had ever taken it before, realistically. Like, well, maybe accidentally in some cold and flu pills in the past, but so low tolerance as well, maybe. I don't know. But it was lit.
Reminds me of a wedding I went to like 15 years ago in Thailand, where someone in the group had the number of some random person who could procure like Coke, right? And everyone knows, like on this place where we were, everyone knows is like, if you get, like, I've never done anything like that, right? I've never done any Coke. Not
that's
something
dumb.
that. So it was someone's idea to call this number. They called this number and organized to like meet this person somewhere. Like on, where was it? I think it was like Koh Samui or something. It was in.
Yeah, that sounds legit.
Yeah. It's like,
yeah,
it's
you
like
get married in a place like that. Yeah.
It's and it's like, if you get caught with that shit, you're doing, like, it could be death penalty. They
Game
don't
over.
like they don't fuck around with that shit. So anyway, someone called this number, and then I don't know who it was out of the group. By the way, there's no climax to this story. It's just like these people just.
I was getting scared, bro.
No,
I was getting scared. I thought you were
number.
about to say like it was a sting op, and they got.
No. And like one of the girls said, "Oh, I'll do it," and she just like, I can't remember what they jumped on a scooter or something, and they went there, and she like got off, and then she's like, "I'll do it by myself, otherwise it'll be like they might get a bit funny about it."
Scare them, yeah.
And anyway, she ended up getting it and all of that, but it's just like, wow, like there's so much risk. We could have just drunk champagne, you know.
Dude, I try to tell my friends,
drink champagne.
Like, because, you know how from here heaps of people go to Bali, right? They go to Bali to party. I'm like, please do not do drugs over there. You can come home like 4 days later and do as much drugs as you want here. Don't do it over there, because I will not be coming to visit your ass if you end up in a fucking jail cell. Like, just because I don't like want to go there. But it's you're right. The risk.
You're not being a total asshole.
Totally retarded.
If you're on holiday, you will go visit them. Yeah. If you're on holiday,
if I'm there, if I'm there anyway, if I'm there anyway.
Total asshole. Like you would go see your friend in jail if you're there on holiday. Like whilst in between lying on the beach,
I mean,
getting a tan.
If it's near where if it's near the resort I'm staying at, then yes. Like, as in, if it's convenient, no. That would just it just horrifies me that people will take risks like that, because in their mind they're like, I won't get caught, but you're like, you're not doing the risk assessment correctly. You're not doing it correctly. I've told people this before. It's probability multiplied by consequence is your risk. So if the consequence is extreme, it doesn't matter if you assess the probability of being next to zero. That still classes as a high risk because of the extremity of the consequence. And the same happens in reverse. That if it's like, this is not that bad, but the probability is it's almost guaranteed to happen, then that's also a high risk. Like and then there's everything in between, right? So so I think it is a failing of humans to do proper risk assessments that allows them to do dumb shit like that. And it's not good. It's not good. Everything in crypto seems to be pumping, by the way. Speaking of risk assessments, everything it looks like we're flipping into a green day where everything starting to look very green. What's
the Hex chart doing?
I mean, over here, it would be the start of the day, right?
We're almost 34 cents right now in Hex.
You mean 3.4 cents?
Oh, sorry, 3.4. 34
good.
cents.
No, that's good. That's
nice.
good. That's good.
34 cents would be nice, wouldn't it?
That's really good. Look, everything's pumping at the moment. Stock market must have opened recently, right? Over in US?
Yeah.
Something like that. It'd be around that time. So, yeah, that's it.
All right, dude. Well, we've been going for a couple of hours, so... Thanks for showing up, dude, because like people just don't show up anymore, hey? So...
I've actually enjoyed it just being you and me, so that the talk time doesn't have to be shared between like 5 people and you have to sit there patiently waiting. And then by the time you go to make your point, the conversation's moved on and shit like that. So at least we've been able to kind of do rapid fire back and forth, talk about shit.
And I think
I've really enjoyed
the lag got better as well once I went out and came back. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, it was pretty bad at the start.
Big shout out to people in the chat. Big shout out to people in the chat. Thank you for coming along. Very much appreciate it. Let's hope that Hex keeps on pumping all the way up to 34 cents. That's what we'd like. We'd like up to 34 cents and beyond.
So that would be a 10x. That would be a 10x.
That would be a 10x.
Hell yes.
Yeah. All right, dude. Have you got any last words?
Let's at least get Hex back up into the high 4s so that I can continue my tweet storm of last chance, my last chance
meme
storyline, my last chance meme tweets. That would be great. I appreciate that. And my Twitter handle is, as you see on the screen right here, is the what's it called? Hex_tangent. We've got that Telegram chat if people are interested to come in and see that and get involved on that chain. And other than that, stay free.
See you later, guys. We'll see you next week.